I used to live in America for a long time, 13, 14 years. But I always wanted to come back to India. And it so happened that I came back to Bombay. Somebody introduced me to Pratham and I met Madhav Jawan. And there was no discussion about what my role should be or anything. And he asked me to attend a meeting the next day. So I always say that I was never hired and therefore I can never be fired. I decided that let me understand how much maths children know, and did a study in about 10 schools. But I was very surprised, as were other people in my team, that even in class 3 and 4, children were struggling with basic numbers and with basic operations. So we put this study together, and I still remember on one sheet of paper, the results of that study were discussed with the municipal corporation leadership, and a program had been launched in Bombay to deal with the problem that we saw. So I was very taken aback. I had spent many years doing a PhD which nobody perhaps really looked at. And here one piece of paper and 1 month of work in about 10 schools led to such a big thing. So I knew that this is the place that we need to be really working on for the coming years. We felt that every child had the opportunity to go to preschool. Then enrollment, universal enrollment in class 1 would be the first step to universal enrollment in primary school. But as we did this, we started getting to hear about many other things. So many families said that for our young children you have done balwadis and preschool, but we have older children. And our older children, many of whom are enrolled in school, we feel are not learning properly. So something should be done about that. So there was a general feeling when we went to schools or to families that things are not okay, but people could not put their finger exactly on what the problem was. If you want to come up with a solution, you have to understand the problem clearly and in a simple way. So we discovered as we went along that children not being able to read is a major problem. But how do you make this clear to everyone and to ourselves? We started doing an experiment across many locations in India. And we came up with a simple set of tasks. And if you put it on a piece of paper, it looks like simple letters, common words, daily words, a small paragraph, 4 lines, and then a story about maybe 8 or 10 sentences, which is like a level of text in a second standard book. And before we started teaching children, we tried to see that in my group of children, in my class, how many children were at which level. And based on that, understanding the composition of the children and the capability of the children, we would design our teaching activities and our materials for them. But as it turned out that this tool was actually quite useful in other ways. For example, we would have parents who would say, "What are you doing?" And we were able to say, "Your child is here and we want to take your child till there." So the goals of the program became very clear. It was also very useful for tracking progress of children. Some children moved very quickly through the levels and some took longer time. So as our teaching at the right level method evolved, we could see that both we had a way of understanding the problem and a way of solving the problem. And so in 2005, we decided, why not share this understanding of the problem with everybody in India? This exercise then became called the Annual Status of Education Report. ASER report basically gives you a status report of, is every child in your district or state going to school? And how well can they read or do arithmetic? So ASER is an understanding of the problem so that then the solutions can be found.
Before 2005, I wasn't involved in any of the programs on the ground. When we conceived this idea of doing ASER, which is representative at the district, state and national levels, survey of learning where we actually go out and assess close to 600,000 children and come out with a report within 100 days and whose findings can be discussed by anybody, whether it's the parent or the teacher or the policymaker. One of the most attractive things about ASER is the fact that even though its front end is so simple, they're easily understood by even mothers who have never been to school. The findings are very easy to disseminate and for people to engage with. But at the same time, it has a very sophisticated back end. And that was actually extremely exciting to me, and that kind of pulled me into this whole effort.
We were doing ASER in India for our own children, communities and villages. People heard about it. From Africa, people started coming. The Hewlett Foundation, who worked to support education in many parts of Africa, would suggest to people to go and visit India and see what ASER was doing. We had people from Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Mali, Senegal, Nigeria, Pakistan, and then later Mexico. So ASER traveled across the oceans, our friendships grew, we helped each other whenever needed, and today ASER is done in one form or the other in more than 15 countries around the world. We developed a solution to the problem that ASER showed, children in school and not learning. And our approach was called teaching at the right level. We used it with good effect in India. But as people began to be aware of the learning crisis globally, they also wanted solutions to be tried in their own countries. Teaching at the right level with the help of JPAL has now gone to many countries in Africa. And there we see that adapting the model and adopting it for the local context has actually shown good results.
Actually, I was reluctant to go to Africa. I never wanted to go there. I was busy with my work here in Pratham. But when I went there, I literally fell in love with Africa. African people, African children, African mothers, and the soil of Africa. It is so like India. It is like us. They are like us.
They are even at beginner. Oh, the situation is very bad. Very bad. They are even like because
Reading is a universal problem. The same problem persists in African countries also. What we did was to take indigenous know-how of reading to Africa through TaRL program and ASER testing tool. We created the syllable chart in the local languages over there, and then we started working with the children.
So with the tremendous generosity of the Yidan Prize, we hope to be able to use this money to really strengthen and build an important piece of work for Pratham going ahead. We have spent the last 20 years in helping children to catch up on very basic elements of learning like reading and arithmetic. But we feel that we need to work very hard to make sure that at least children in India don't face this problem to begin with. So our view is that if you did things right and did things strongly in the early years, age 3 to age 7 or 8, both within schools and within families, then our children would not need to experience a learning crisis in future. So our Yidan Prize will go towards building a very strong effort that we are calling Leap Forward, essentially building strong foundations from young ages all the way up to early years in primary school.
Pratham was designed to become a societal mission of government, business and civil society. Starting with a team of about 10 people in Mumbai, it has become now a national organization with international significance. Hundreds of thousands of parents and volunteers in far corners of India have become a part of this movement. And yet we are very aware that a lot more needs to be done.
We are a giant organization You might feel that how do you really manage this giant organization? But we are all about collective responsibility, teamwork, and we always believe that every person in this organization owns our mandate, that every child in school and learning well. I'm so happy today that you have acknowledged Dr. Rukmini Banerji, our CEO, and this prize that she is receiving is on behalf of the entire Pratham family. Thank you so much.